All right, so, we love to go deep on stories that you guys are really, interested in.
Mhm.
And one that keeps popping up both like in our inbox and, just kind of in the news cycle generally
Yeah.
is the British monarchy.
Right.
You send in this article, majority of Britons still favor having a royal family, but support is waning.
Interesting.
And it feels like, there's this big question kind of looming, right?
Yeah.
Do they still need a monarchy?
Like, is it really necessary in the 21st century?
Exactly.
I mean, it's a question that keeps getting louder and louder.
Yeah.
Even if Prince Harry's book didn't exactly, create the huge earthquake that some people were predicting.
Right, exactly. Like everyone was kind of waiting to see,
Yeah.
was this going to be the final nail in the coffin?
Yeah.
But it seems like from this article, at least,
Mm-hmm.
that even though the book itself, maybe didn't totally tank the royals' image,
Right.
the overall support for the monarchy is kind of trending downwards.
Yeah, it is.
So, what is going on here? Why is now the time that people are starting to really question this?
I think it's a bunch of things all happening at the same time,
A perfect storm.
Yeah, exactly, like a perfect storm.
Okay.
You've got Prince Andrew and that whole scandal with Jeffrey Epstein,
Oh, right.
which definitely, I think, tarnished the image quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, he had to step back from royal duties and everything.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's, the ongoing drama with Harry and Meghan.
Oh, yeah. All very public.
Yeah, very public. Lots of family drama airing out for everyone to see.
Yeah.
And then you can't ignore the big elephant in the room, which is the cost.
Yeah.
Especially now when everyone's feeling the pinch economically.
Right.
I mean, £102.4 million increase to the sovereign grant in 2021, 2022.
Whoa, hold on. Say that number again.
£102.4 million.
£102.4 million. I'm pretty sure you can buy a small country for that.
Or a lot of very fancy hats.
Okay, so before we even get into, if it's actually worth it, can you break down, what does this sovereign grant actually cover?
Sure. So basically, it's the public money that funds all of the monarchy's official duties.
Okay.
So things like staff salaries, maintaining all those palaces.
Which I imagine costs a pretty penny.
Oh, yeah. Those are not cheap.
Okay.
Travel for all those royal tours and engagements, all that comes out of the sovereign grant.
Okay.
But here's the thing that people often miss. It's actually calculated as a percentage of the profits from the crown estate.
Right, the crown estate.
Which is this, massive collection of lands and properties.
Right, owned by the monarchy, but not directly managed by them.
Exactly. So it's not like taxpayers are, writing a check for that $102.4 million.
It's a bit more nuanced than that.
Yeah, a lot more nuance.
Okay. But even if it's coming from this crown estate,
Mm-hmm.
it still kind of begs the question, are we getting our money's worth?
Yeah, is there a return on this investment?
Exactly.
Well, that's where people who support the monarchy point to soft power.
Soft power. What is that?
Yeah, so the late queen was like a masterclass in soft power, basically. It's the idea that her image, her global presence,
Okay.
weren't just for show, like it actually translated into, real benefits for the UK.
Oh, interesting.
Diplomatically, economically. I mean, this article mentions a report from 2017 that estimated the monarchy generated something like $150 million a year in trade and tourism.
Whoa. Okay. So some people would argue that it's basically paying for itself.
Exactly.
But others would say that that kind of influence, you can't really measure it.
Right. How do you put a number on that?
Exactly. And is it the queen herself, or is it the whole institution of the monarchy
Right. How do you separate the two?
that's holding that power?
Yeah. That's a huge criticism.
Yeah.
Is it the individual, the crown, or just, the weight of centuries of history and tradition that they represent?
Right.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
And honestly, for the people who are really critical of the monarchy,
Mm-hmm.
they see it as, this principle, this idea that one family gets to be at the top just because they were born into it.
Right.
That feels really at odds with, the idea of a fair and equal society.
Yeah.
I mean, this article quotes one critic calling the monarchy a glaring symbol of unearned privilege.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a sentiment that seems to be resonating more and more, especially with younger generations.
Which makes sense when you think about, all the social movements that are happening.
Exactly.
Pushing for more equality, dismantling these old power structures.
Yeah. Does a hereditary monarchy fit into that world?
Yeah. Does it represent something that's just totally out of touch?
Right. Are they holding on to these symbols from the past and actually kind of hindering progress?
Because the article does also touch on this idea that,
Mm-hmm.
the monarchy provides stability,
Right.
continuity, like a shared cultural touchstone.
Yeah, like a common ground.
Yeah. But is that really genuine, like a unifying force?
Right.
Or is it kind of more surface level and actually masking deeper issues?
Exactly. It's complex, because for a lot of people, the royals do evoke, a feeling of history and tradition.
Yeah.
But is that just nostalgia,
Yeah.
Is it keeping the UK stuck in the past when it should be focused on the future?
Right. And that kind of brings us to the other big argument against the monarchy.
Yeah.
The big D word.
Democracy.
I mean, for you listening right now,
Yeah.
how much does it matter to you that you have a say in who leads your country?
Exactly.
Like, does it sit right with you that there's this head of state who's just there because of who their parents were, with, like, no real accountability to the people?
Groups like Republics are all about abolishing the monarchy, and they would say it's just fundamentally undemocratic.
Right.
They'd say a hereditary system, where power is just passed down, automatically doesn't belong in a modern democracy.
Yeah, there's no voting them out if you don't like what they're doing.
Exactly. Or, if you don't like how they're spending money.
So where does that leave us? I mean, we've got declining popularity, the whole cost-benefit debate, questions about, equality and fairness, this tension between tradition and progress, and then this huge question of democracy.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
I think this whole debate about the monarchy is actually, like a microcosm of a much bigger conversation that's happening everywhere.
Oh, interesting.
About how we balance tradition with modernity.
Yeah.
What role should inherited power and privilege even have in the 21st century?
Right, like these aren't questions with easy answers.
Not at all.
So as you're thinking about, the UK's future, consider this.
Okay.
If you were building a system from scratch, would a hereditary monarchy even be in it?
Interesting.
And if so, what would that look like? How would it have to evolve to stay relevant?
Yeah.
And most importantly, legitimate in the eyes of the people?
That's the big question.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was fun.
Always.
Catch you next time.
See ya.